from the Penn libraries.
Thanks everybody for coming out for the Google Hangout talk and for Gadget Day. Really appreciate you being here. I'm glad to be presenting after coming here for the past couple of years for these events. My name is Chris Martin. I've done extensive work with Google Hangouts, mostly because of my role here as IT and Multimedia Manager for the Kelly Writers House and the Writing Program here in the School of Arts and Sciences. So we use Google Hangouts quite a bit for our Coursera course to kind of reach out to our students and provide some live content to them. So Google Hangouts, it's a great tool to have at your disposal. It's free. It's pretty easy to use. It's the whole premise is you can do video chatting and collaboration with others. There's two different tiers to it as well. There's a Google Hangout, which is kind of a few of you can get together in an online space and talk and video chat and do that. And then there's also an additional piece to that, an additional component called On Air. So you can enable your Google Hangout to actually broadcast via YouTube and via a live embed code that you can put onto your website or wherever you would like. So I just want to make that distinction now that there are two levels to it. So there's a few great use cases and scenarios for this. For one case, if you just want to catch up with friends and family, you can see how happy they are using the service. This is a stock photo. I don't know this people. This is a more serious photo I was trying to find, and this guy looks super professional, so I thought I'd include him in the presentation. So you can do group collaboration, you can do work on projects together, and there's actually the ability to work in real time on Google Drive documents, which is really cool. I'll get into that in a little bit. Another case is if a faculty member wants to do open office hours or discussion or meet with students outside of class time. That can be done virtually. And this is a screenshot from one of the Google Hangouts we did during our Coursera course, in which we broadcasted to all of our students. We had over 30,000 students enrolled, so this was kind of a good way to actually reach out to them. And this is one of the cases where we use the on-air functionality. So we didn't want it to be a closed-in meeting. We wanted it to be available to everybody via YouTube and a video embed on our website. And then another case kind of goes along with what I was just talking about, just a general webcast to the world of any event that you might want to get out there. There's never been such a robust, easy-to-use, free platform quite like Google Hangouts. And you see here Obama actually used Google Hangouts to deliver an informal speech and talk with some people, of the general population, and that was just last year, which is pretty cool. So there's a few prerequisites to the service. You need a Google Plus account, and you need to add each other. If you have a Google Plus account, you have what are called circles, and that's where you can put other people you're friends with. You can connect with friends, acquaintances, and put them into your group of people you know. So if you're going to do a hangout, both yourself and the person that you want to hang out with have to acknowledge each other on Google Plus and add one another to one of your Google circles. There's a lot of good documentation on that process. If I'm not making sense on a Google Pen, makes sense of it. You also need the Google Talk plugin. For it to work, it'll prompt you to install that when you go to start a Hangout, so it's not too major of a step. If you want to use it, you can use Google Hangouts on iPads, iPhones, and Android phones. So if you're going to use it, you'll want to have that. If you're going to be broadcasting on air, you have to be 18 or older. If you're going to be broadcasting on air, you also need to connect it with your YouTube account. It'll prompt you to do that when you go to do an on-air presentation. And you also need proper hardware. So, like I said, work on any iOS device, any Android phone for the most part. You need either a desktop or laptop. It'll work on either of those types of computers. You can work on iPod Touch. You need a USB webcam, the built-in camera, microphone, and a good internet connection, all very important to the process. So we'll talk about kind of how you actually go about doing a Hangout, and then we'll get into kind of some of the cool additional features you can take advantage of once you're in a Hangout. So when you log into your Google Plus account after you've created it, which is very easy to do, you can even convert an existing regular Google account to a Google Plus account very easily. Just the click of a button, basically. So on the sidebar, you'll have all your Google Plus account options. Near the bottom, sometimes you've got to click on the little more thing button. But in this case, my resolution was good enough, so you can see the Hangout button. There, you click on that, that brings you to this page. You can get more information on what a Hangout is, etc. But the thing we're most interested in is starting a Hangout, which is that red button at the top. You click on that, you get brought to the Start a Hangout screen within a couple seconds of loading. You can name your Hangout, and then you can add different people from your circles, or you can even send email addresses to invite people into your Hangout. And then I'm still trying to figure out why there's two spots to name the Hangout. I haven't figured that one out yet. You can also bring in somebody via telephone, which is kind of interesting. For 2013, it's a newish feature, and it's free to do for US and Canadian phone numbers. And then here's the option to enable Hangouts on air, and that's what gives you the opportunity to broadcast your Hangout to the world. So once you establish these parameters, you can hit Hangout. It'll bring up a screen with your image first and foremost. On the left side, it'll have your toolbar of Google Hangout add-ons, which I'll get into in a little bit. They're really cool. When you bring in virtual participants, they line up down here in boxes, and you can see everybody else who is part of your Hangout. But the thing we're most interested in right now is actually some of the functionality that's in the top right. That's where you establish your settings. You can end your Hangout from there. You can establish which webcam you want to use if you have more than one webcam hooked up. You can establish your audio source. You can mute your microphone, mute your video feed, and it'll also show you the level at which your audio is coming through. Now, if you decided to enable the on-air functionality so that it's public to the world, there's the red button up there that says Start Broadcast, and there's also the ability to embed this video. So we'll look at that a little bit more closely. I guess I should have brought this up a minute ago. So once you hit Start Broadcast, it'll post in a couple seconds. It'll tell you when you go live. But most importantly, when you click on this little embed link, it'll pop up with a URL to your YouTube page where the video can be viewed at in real time. And then it also gives you an HTML embed code, which you can copy and paste into a web page or post into somewhere else that you want it to be a viewable video. Okay, cool. So you remember a few slides ago I talked about, or I mentioned how there's some neat add-ons that you can utilize within the Google Hangout, which really make it even more valuable of a tool. Here's a couple of them, and we'll get into some of them more specifically. You can establish a chat that's the first option up here under Invite People. You can bring up a little chat box on the right. Now that's just for people internal to the Google Hangout. So it's not for the whole world to give feedback to your video if you're broadcasting it. It's strictly just if you in the Hangout want to send some notes back and forth or copy and paste text. So you can also do screen sharing, which is pretty cool. So anybody in the Hangout can share what's ever on their computer screen, or they can specify an application if they want to show you just what's in their Microsoft Word document, for instance. You have the option to bring that up so that everybody can see what you're talking about, or whatever you have to say, which is really good if you want to broadcast like a PowerPoint presentation or show like a Word document to either somebody you're in the Hangout with or somebody out there in the world. This next one's a little goofy. It's called Effects. Google will actually, Google Hangouts will actually be able to put different things on your face and different sounds, and it will actually follow your face around. So you can embarrass yourself in any number of peculiar ways, as you can see here. This is just a few of them. I've never used this one in a professional setting before, but I'm sure if you got creative, or maybe for Halloween or something, if you were doing this, who knows. But just that's kind of a fun one. You can also, one of the add-ons is that you can import a YouTube video into your broadcast as well. So everybody in the broadcast simultaneously can watch a YouTube clip, and that can also be broadcasted out to the world if you're doing an on-air broadcast, which is a pretty useful functionality. And one of the coolest things is the fact that you can work on Google Drive documents, spreadsheets, and such simultaneously in real time. So if you have, this is kind of a collaborative portion of Google Hangouts functionality. You can have 4 people all logged into Google Drive and be looking at the same document and be hacking away at different parts of it, or making modifications as necessary, which is really cool for students, really cool for anybody working on a project. So at the end of the Hangout, you just click the little Hangout button to close it out, and if you're on there, you can hit End Broadcast, and that kind of puts the kibosh on it. And then the really cool thing about when you're doing an on-air broadcast is that it's streaming to YouTube the whole time. As we mentioned, there's a YouTube link where you can watch your stream, but it's also really awesome because YouTube will record the actual Hangout. So you can go to YouTube and then it will appear in your YouTube channel. And it's also interesting, wherever you had embedded that, if you use the embed code anywhere, that video will switch automatically from the live stream of the broadcast into the recording of it. So that's kind of a cool functionality. But if you go to your YouTube, you can go to your video manager and you can see all the broadcasts and Google Hangouts you've done. And just as a reminder, that's just if you're broadcasting on air. If you're not broadcasting on air, it's just within your circle of people. So in this case, I have my test Hangout there. There's some cool edits that you can also make. You can title and put a description on there, and that's how it'll appear on your YouTube page. But a couple of my favorite things are the ability to auto-fix the brightness and contrast of the video. You can actually do that. And my most favorite feature is the ability to trim. So if you start a video and there's a couple minutes of dead air in the beginning before your event gets started, or at the end it's running for a few extra seconds, you can actually use the trim functionality to cut off the beginning and end and make it a nice program with no extra content before or after. One thing we were doing with, if anybody's interested in doing live broadcasts of events, there wasn't really a good solution built into Google Hangouts to do like a multi-camera type of shoot, but it is possible. And I was able to do this actually just last week. You need third-party software, however, which is free and available, but it's not built into the Google Hangout. But if you're interested in that, I can definitely talk to you more about it. So some of the benefits: it's free, it's easy, works across multiple devices. The collaborative capabilities are great. There's a number of add-ons, as you saw. The YouTube broadcasts say they can handle unlimited number of viewers, which is just awesome, because to have that functionality just a year or two ago was a lot of money. And then the recording is just excellent to have. I use it so much. The opposite of benefits, for lack of a better title. Some things, it only really, Google Hangouts natively only really supports USB webcams and built-in webcams on your laptops or your iPads. They're working on more functionality, and we were testing this out a little bit with Google Text last week, and it didn't really work, but it's getting there. Hopefully soon. You can use one of those other third-party programs to kind of help bridge that gap, but it should be better hopefully in the near future. All this stuff is changing so quick as it develops. The quality of the broadcast, I've noticed, is kind of iffy sometimes. It could be better. I feel like they kick down the bandwidth a little bit on you, which drives me crazy, but we'll see. The Google Plus app, I've had hit or miss success with it. I'm going to try and demo it in a minute if I have a minute to test it, but that's hit or miss. And then the lack of embed code and YouTube URL before you start the Hangout. That's kind of a big one because you can't really embed it until you start it. So you kind of got to give yourself a few minutes of buffer time to do that. So those are some of the notable negatives I found with the platform. But overall, it's been absolutely terrific. And I can give a demo of how you would actually do it if everybody's up for it. Are there any questions in the meantime?
I was wondering, so I've seen that you have like one person on the screen when you're doing the broadcast, but then you can switch to another person. Who controls that? And
It's a good question. So if you have multiple people on a webcast, here's a good example. I'll go to the serious guy. Yeah. Yeah, so all these virtual participants lined up down here, by default, the main screen is controlled by whoever's speaking. So whoever's making the most noise, basically, will get the main screen. However, if you're the person who started the Hangout, you actually can override that, and you can manually click on the individual boxes. And once you click once, it's kind of thrown into manual mode, and it only changes when you select.
so multiple people can talk at the same time while just keeping one.
Right. Yeah, and that's actually typically what I do when we're doing like a broadcast and we have multiple people. I'll manually select the person who gets the big screen. Good question. Anybody else?
If someone doesn't have video, can they be on there just listening and like microphoning, like talking?
Like somebody who you want somebody to participate, just audio only?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah, you don't necessarily need the visual aspect to it, and you can bring in people over the phone as well. I think in place of your video, they'll put just like your profile picture, your Google Plus account profile picture on the screen by default. But yeah, you can do that too. So,
Does somebody have like more, I guess, admin, privileges over others? Like if somebody came in and was causing grief as part of your Google Hangout, could you give them the boot?
That's a good question. I've never had to give anybody the boot, so I've never tested that functionality out. Good question though. I mean, it's kind of limited in the fact that you can only join the Hangout if you're part of somebody's circle, so you mutually acknowledge that you're on friendly terms. Usually.
There's no mute button.
Actually, okay, all right, you can do that. You can mute somebody's video or their audio, and you can actually, there's a new setting that they just released this week where by default somebody can either have their video and audio enabled when they join, or by default it's disabled. And you as the meeting organizer have that control. So I guess you can just click off there.
So you do have, someone is in charge, like a...
Yeah, you do have some controls. I just wasn't sure about the boot part.
And how many people?
Go ahead.
How many people maximum?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say that. So you can have up to yourself and then 9 virtual participants at a single time. So I've never tried it with 9, but that is the limit. Presumably it functions still. So we've only done a few at max at a particular time. So.
The on-air just automatically goes to YouTube, so you have no way of looking at it before it hits YouTube?
Well, what happens is you can start the Hangout before you start the broadcast. So you can give yourself some buffer time before you actually go live per se.
But back to what he was saying, if you didn't like what was said, it's on YouTube.
like you couldn't like live censor something, or
I mean,
if that's what you're getting at.
but it's not like it's a saved file and then it goes there. It's like live. I mean, it's,
Right, it's
yeah.
like
mhm.
as it's happening,
Mhm.
it's viewable. Yeah, once it's on there, you don't really have any control over, you know.
And what did you say? If you embed it, it automatically starts something.
Oh, right. So if you take your Hangout and you take the embed code and paste it into your website so that somebody can go to your web page and watch it from there,
Mhm.
It'll be the live stream as the event is occurring. But then once the event is over and you end your broadcast, that player that you embedded will automatically turn into the recording of it, so somebody could go after the fact and play it back.
Mm-hmm.
Is a regular hangout recorded?
Not a regular Hangout.
Regular.
I don't think so.
Then that would resolve.
Yeah.
Later posted.
Although you can keep your YouTube channel private, right? You have security.
Yeah, that's true. And
Do
you
you have
want
a choice before you get started in the on air to make it private?
you can't really make it private. I guess the best solution would be you wouldn't have to distribute the URL to anybody or embed it anywhere. And that way,
Say that again.
like you could not advertise where you're broadcasting it to. Like, for instance, if you wanted everybody to see it, you would probably embed it in your web page or send out the URL as it was about to happen. But if you didn't want anybody to be able to get to it, they wouldn't really know how to get to it unless they had that information.
Because it's there just by the title. What is it? How would you? Are there keywords or something to find the YouTube video?
To find it, I think the only way you could possibly find it would be if you were in Google Plus, and then Google Plus might say on your newsfeed, like, your friend in your circle is doing a Hangout right now.
Also be
So,
controlled a little.
so you could still find it that way, but that would be a lot more limited than, like, for instance, we only put people, like, we only have a couple people in our Google circles for our Coursera account. So, like, there's only a couple people who know it's happening. You know, we're only friends with a couple people. That, like me and our TAs are the only people who can see it in Google Plus. So, if you don't, friend everybody on Google Plus and then you don't advertise where you're broadcasting it to, then it's probably pretty difficult to gain access to. I don't want to say impossible, but
It's out there, but difficult to get to.
yeah. Unless, well, yeah, there's exceptions, I guess. Unless you're following the YouTube channel, then maybe it'll work. Yeah, that gets messy. I never thought of it in that context.
Right.
Yeah, in that case, it might make more sense to, like, do a recording off air with another piece of software and then just upload it.
Do you know if the Penn Google accounts are going to have the Google Plus capabilities or no?
I can chime in if you want.
Sure.
IC is in control of UPenn.edu Google Maps. It is in discussion.
Okay.
So,
Because if you wanted to do this for class, I could see privacy problems.
yeah, there's a lot of different things going on, especially HIPAA compliance, things like that. A lot of documents in the office. But it is on board.
Interesting. Yeah. So, are they able to lock down, like, you can have a Google Plus account but not have access to Hangouts, Stephen? Like, can they?
I'm not sure if there's an explicit declare there, but there is the ability to lock down specific applications within the account.
Right.
So it may be
Possible. Well, cool. I think I'm out of time for the most part. I wanted to give a live demo, but hopefully that got the point across and you know what it's capable of. Certainly, if you have any more questions, I'm glad to answer them or give you my information. However you want to work it. So, thanks a lot.
Take care.